All right, everybody, we're here in the main street and we're talking with Austin O'Malley, and Austin is going to give us the history and the building behind us that O'Malley's have had for the past so many years and who came before him. Hi, Austin.
Hey, Paddy, how are you?
Good.
My father bought this place in 1950, I think. He bought it from his sister, who was Lily O'Malley, who came from Ballygran, like my father. And she was married to a guy called Donny Coleman. And they had a hotel here called the Royal Hotel.
Yeah.
Prior to that, it was known as Lincoln's Hotel. But that's possibly back to the late 1800s and the early 1900s.
Yeah.
I think around 1950. And it was originally 7 windows.
Yeah.
You can see they're all matching windows. So when it was divided, Mr. Condon, the cobbler, and his wife bought those 2 windows and the building with it, and we bought the 3 windows with this building with it.
Yeah.
Binchie's had bought, and in a previous time, had bought those 2 windows, so that's how it was divided.
Yeah.
There was a Mr. O'Donoghue who had a blacksmith's at the top of our lawn. I remember as a child, a black wall. The building was gone, but the wall, it was the dividing wall between ourselves and Condon's next door. And it was where I found out later that Mr. O'Donoghue had a forge.
Yeah.
And horses and all manner of animals and machines were brought up there to be shod.
Right.
And God knows what.
Yeah.
And Mr. O'Donoghue was married to a lady from Smith's Road who lived in number 15, I think, just opposite the convent school. Nora O'Connor. She was a very nice woman. She had a nickname of Scotland Yard. I presume because she wore a lot of tartan. I don't really know. She was a very nice woman.
Yeah.
And
Maybe she was a bit of a detective.
perhaps I wouldn't like to say.
Yeah.
But she used to come down here a lot when we had an electrical shop here, and he had that up there, and then my father started off a garage up here as well, which in turn became a milking machine repair place site. And then he turned it into a bar in the 1970, 71. Yeah, right. My brother had his 21st there, and he's 71 now, so that's 50 years ago, so about 1970.
Just to bring you back there a bit, we'll say, so your father took it over from his aunts, but they all...
No, his sister. My aunt.
And they were doing the undertaking business as before that, weren't they?
Yes, Coleman's were undertakers, yes.
But there was no pub here.
Well, it was a hotel.
But the hotel,
which was at the front.
Yes, okay, so it was the hotel and the undertaking business. And we were looking here at the stones here for the carriages.
To straighten the carriage, apparently when the hearse, which was a horse-drawn hearse, of course, had to go up here, the poor old driver had to duck. He had to hit the horse hard enough to get it to go up the hill, but he had to duck. Otherwise he'd collide with the keystone on top. That would probably make him a customer fairly quick at the undertaking, I imagine. So everyone had an archway. I mean, there was lots of buildings in town had archways. There's lots of them around. It was a great idea. It was, sure, you had loads of space at the back. Everybody wanted frontage, but there was also happened to be space at the back. We have a swimming pool out the back. Well, we used to have as kids. It's only 20 by 10. It's not a big one, but it was a great amenity when we were children, and it was great fun. And we have a nice lawn out there as well, and our border goes around by the back of the convent.
And was it just a fresh water, just like a rainwater set up for the pool?
It was mains. It was from the council. And the water would be green after a week, and it would be black after 10 days. You wouldn't know what you'd find inside it. But it was a great amenity. I mean, the summer as children, there would be loads of kids playing here. It was great fun. It was like a community pool in a very limited way, but it was great fun. All the kids from the town used to play there. It was great fun.
Who was your mother then?
My mother came from a little shop opposite the church in Buttevant. Her name was Lynch. Her maiden name is Lynch.
Okay, right.
And her family came from Kilbrinn. And there was a large family of them there. There was 7 or 8 of them. And my mother met my father while she was down visiting cousins in Monabricka. The Madigan family would have been cousins through the Duggans and whatnot. And there was dancing at Coombe Bridge. When she cycled down to meet her cousins, she went to a dance and she met my father, who was from nearly Coombe Bridge as well, dancing at the crossroads, I suppose you could call it. They got married in the Imperial Hotel around 1947, 46, 47. The one in Car. And my mother said that he had the wedding 9 o'clock in the morning for fear that his relations would come to it. He decided it was a better move because they'd be all drinking and they wouldn't be there early or something like that. He had morning weddings that was what they did then. But he wanted it particularly early because of the possible consequences of his family coming to it. He came from a large family as well. There was 10 of them, I think. And my father had a very wealthy uncle in the States who lived in Chicago, and he gambled a lot. And he helped other people to gamble as well. He was very accommodating, and he apparently made a lot of money. Whatever way he made it, I'm not too sure, because I don't believe they look favourably upon gambling in the States. But anyway, and he gave my family a lot. He gave my father and all his siblings a lot of money. Just that he died in '39. So soon after, when there was nothing here, my mother used to say everyone knew when the Yank was back because it was the only car on the road. And he would come back every couple of years, and he built Moher House. And anyway, as I say, he died in 1939, and he gave them huge amounts of money, which might have done them a lot of harm. Because some of them squandered the money, and it did them as much harm as it did good. I had Lily's twin, Eamon, owned the old stand in Dublin, and he died a young man. I had another uncle. I had two uncles in Kilmallock. They died young men. One of them from drink directly. The other man died. He was in the army, and his wife died in childbirth. And they had anyway. They did. It wasn't all fun and games. You know, the money seemed to do them as much harm as it did good. You know, that kind of way.
But your father, he was a businessman. He was an entrepreneur. You know, he moved.
He had a great habit of being in the right place at the right time. Yeah.
And then so you had the pub. You opened the pub, and then the undertaking business.
In the late 70s that came through. The pub. I remember him making a pub out of that room. I don't know what it was, but I think it was an electrical shop before that, but then he decided to go into the pub business. I remember on the night he opened it, he went up the town to get someone to come down to have a drink, and that was old Oney Wall. Right. And I'd say that was the mid 60s. I would think. I was 6 or 7 or 8 or 9. Right. And then the show band thing was getting big, and he decided that we had a huge space out the back, and he decided to convert that. And then it became a venue, Lourdes, I think it was called Lourdes, because so many people went in with crutches and started dancing inside, which was a good trick. The miracles, absolute miracles. I can remember Henny France and Mrs. Morden and O'Brien from Holy Cross. They'd come down sometimes, and they'd be dancing, and they'd have a night out, or sometimes there was an afternoon session as well. Some of the bands were really, really good. Two's Company were a huge hit. That would be booked out for that. You wouldn't get your leg in the door. It was crazy. Eamon and Mary, I think they came from Monaghan or somewhere around there. They were a huge attraction. Right. And there were lots of local bands. The late Connie used to play there. Mick Daly used to play there. Loads of guys. It was a huge venue, and it was a very busy place. The Charleville Cheese Festival, my job was to keep the gate closed. To stop people coming in. Which of course was guaranteed to get everyone wanting to come in. If you left the door open, they wouldn't go near the place. But if you can get in, everybody wants to get in. You know, the usual trick. So
and when did he start the car? Because he was into cars then as well, selling cars.
He closed the garage in around 1971 or 2.
Closed the garage? He
closed the garage in New Line. Oh, sorry, not the one here. He had... I think he started above in the early 50s. He bought the place above in 1950. He bought that farm. It was a farm from the cottage up, and he sold some of it then to the tech, to the state to build the tech on. It went up as far as Brindle Hill, I think. The farm did. He bought it from a widow. We have the bill of sale. Owen Binchy gave me the bill of sale of it, which is hanging above in the funeral home. And that was 1950, and he built on a petrol station. He built a petrol station, which is the central part, and then he added onto it, bit by bit, and it became quite larger than what it started out. But then that was the main Cork Road then, and it was a very busy road. You turned right at the Four Winds, and that was the way it was, and it was a busy spot. And then he closed that around early 70s. He concentrated on here, I suppose. And then when the undertaking happened, then we had space to build a funeral home, to convert a room above in the garage into a funeral home. And funeral homes were just, just taken off. They were just taken off.
So the home wake.
A lot of people didn't want that, and funeral homes were big. They were just beginning to blossom.
Yeah.
And that was the right place at the right time. And then we, in the early 80s, we expanded it to about 3 times the size it was.
Yeah.
And the space was there. All we had to do was convert it. It wasn't a huge amount of outlay.
Right. And you, like, as a young fella, you fell in to the family.
I had no
businesses?
choice. I had no choice. Yes.
So you just fell in as a young fella out of school or whatever.
If there was anyone else there, they would have asked them, but I was the only one left. Yeah. If there was another donkey before me, he'd have gotten the job. But I got elected simply because I was the only one there.
Yeah, that's your own siblings didn't remind me again who they are.
I'm the youngest of 5.
Yeah.
Jimmy is my eldest brother. Anthony's after. Grace is after that, and Anne, my sister. So it's 2, 2, and 1.
Yeah.
And we all worked there. You didn't have a choice. I mean, that was the way it was.
That's it. You had to fall in. And,
had to fall in. There was no holding back. So
right,
you know.
And then you added on yourself then, because you had the electrical shop here. And
I moved in '93. And he died in 2000, as did my mother.
Yeah.
And we expanded it. Made it a bit bigger. It's quite a large shop now. Well, when I say it's large, it's about 4 times bigger than it was at the start. We can go back. There's a huge length. It goes back to beyond Tommy Healy's in Smiths Road. You know,
right.
Tommy Lane's, I should say, in Smiths Road. It borders the infant school. Right. It goes back that far.
That's a long way back.
That's a long way back. It's a long way back.
Yeah,
it's a long way back. You wouldn't throw a stone that far. No, you wouldn't throw a stone that far. Yeah.
So you're still at the repairing business more than the sales side of it.
Whatever the customer wants.
Yeah.
I'm your man.
Yeah. And of course the undertaking is still going as well.
I'm very lucky. I'm very fortunate.
People are still dying.
That will happen.
That's right.
That will happen.
There was a story that your father used to have here when he was passing.
An onion, I suppose, is it? No, not an onion. No.
It was what you call him used to be passing here. Was it Mr. Murray? Was it?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's a nice story, but I would never dare to ask anyone how they were. I wouldn't. I might say good morning, Mr. Murray, but I wouldn't inquire as to how his health or anyone else's health either. I wouldn't ask. I mean, I might say good morning or whatever. And I distinctly remember, and I got a lovely mention on the Late Late Show for this. But its accuracy, it's a little bit embellished. It's a bit. It's been very kind to me, but I've no problem with that. But not entirely true.
Right.
You know.
The story goes, not today, Austin. Is that it?
I'm fine at the moment. Something to that effect. But as I say, I would never ask. I would never ask. I mean, he used to pass here every morning. But as I say, I would say hello. Good morning, Mr. Murray. But I wouldn't inquire. I wouldn't inquire. Or as I say, for anyone else either. I wouldn't dare do such a thing. That wouldn't be nice.
Anyway, Austin, it was lovely talking to you, and thanks for all the information and a bit of history.
What little I know of it.
No, very good.
Sure.
Very good.
It was a bit of a laugh.
Great stuff.
A bit of a laugh.